Hey, you want me to ask you a really hard question? Do you like it when we do the interactive? Because I got to tell you, I do like the comment section. It's how I spend my evenings. Laying in bed, I'm reading through what you guys are saying. I'm giving you thumbs up. I'm responding to you sometimes. We get a little argument going. You wanted me to ask you a really hard question? Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? What should Ciryl Gane do next? You would have to be a professional to have the answer to that question. That is a wildly hard question. Let's take what Khabib says he should do next, shall we? Khabib is one of the most respected people and respected minds, and now a trainer, a second-generation trainer behind his old man. Believes that Ciryl, at 30 years old, is young, and that he should move to Dagestan for 2 years. Not come and train, move. This becomes your home. You live here. You be in our culture. I need you twice a day. I need you at the morning workout. I need you in the afternoon workout. And you are going to have to learn. I'm going to have to teach you wrestling, the fundamentals from the beginning. And I believe I can do that in 2 years. But you're moving here. And Khabib made a big deal about the move. Like he just said, don't bring your coaches. Your coaches, this is now, everybody comes here. You must learn wrestling. And Khabib's argument was that Ciryl's so good at everything else, and that only 30 years old, at 32, is not that he can go have another 10 years. This was Khabib's opinion. I'm just sharing it with you. That simply isn't going to happen. Is that what has to happen? If Ciryl does not learn wrestling to a high level, can he continue on in the sport? If he was to go and focus on wrestling to a high level, are you confident that he can keep his kickboxing still sharp, of which was an element of the fight that he also lost on Saturday? That's one of the things that keeps on being left out. Oh, yeah, a wrestling deficit. Well, not really. That's really not what you saw. That takedown doesn't count. That was clumsy. Jon didn't even mean for that to be a takedown. The takedown doesn't count. He fell down. Okay, fine. But you fall down a lot, right? Now, if you want to be good at grappling in MMA, you only got to be good in 1 or 2 positions. And this gets lost all the time, too. I'll see guys go into the practice room and start to train, start to really get focused, and it's half the time. But half the time, because they'll spend half of it on the takedown, and then they'll spend half of it on getting up off the bottom, when they should put 100% of it into one. Put it into one of those two. You become really difficult to take down. A wrestler won't try time and time again. It's too tiring. If he can't get you down and have energy once he does it, he's not going to try to get you down. If you get up off the bottom, there's no better way to break a wrestler mentally. You want to break it, you want to crack him, you want to think I'm going to have to change game plans? Have him take you down and scramble right up off the mat. Which involves 2 things, by the way. You know, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into the X's and O's. It bores you. I'm just sharing with you that that's what Ciryl would need to do. Now, that's just from a physicality standpoint, but people keep acting as though there was a big wrestling problem. The wrestling was clumsy. Take the takedown out. Bigger problem was that he couldn't move on the bottom. He looked like a turd in a punch bowl when he was on the bottom. That's a bigger problem. And the part that everyone wants to be leaving out, including Coach Khabib, in all fairness, you're acting as though Ciryl was handling him on the feet. Ciryl was running away, and he was taking 2s right down the middle from a wrestler. But it's a hard question because Ciryl, right? I just stated all the bad things about Ciryl. I kicked the guy. But that's because I would build him up. Listen, Ciryl's handsome. He's young. Look at his body, man. He's fantastic. He's charismatic. He's somewhat humorous. You guys saw, he did the piece where he's pretended to be the boy from Stockton. He checks a lot of boxes. Dana apparently likes him. He's main evented him 1, 2, 3, 4 times that I can think of, just his last 4 fights. I can't remember what he did his 5th and 6th fight ago. Maybe those were main events. Dana likes him. You check a lot of boxes. But if you have a main event guy, there is no scenario. Come hooker, short notice, by example. Colby Covington has had to motivate for the last 2 years of his career as a number one contender that can't get in there because Usman was in there. He has had to motivate himself that the only way I'm going to get in is on short notice, and he shows up at the gym ready and practicing with that as his motivator. Ciryl can't even do that. If it was short notice, they still would not put Ciryl Gane in with Jon Jones. There is no scenario where anybody would think that they could sell $1 worth of tickets putting those together. So now you're in a tough question. All right, I told you guys this was a hard one. It is a hard one, though. It's a damn hard one. Because he can't change weight classes. It's not a situation where he can just go up the heavyweight. And he's too big to go down. That would be our normal solution, wouldn't it? You want to get a fresh coat of paint on a guy, just put him in a new weight class. I've never seen a better way. Never seen it. But he can't do that here. He's too young to retire. He's too damn good to retire. He has a glaring hole that though it wasn't exposed in his first 15 fights, no one tried to. That was the part they never told about Ciryl. I did. I am the best analyst in this game, but I did bring that to you solely, only me. Ciryl was 15-0, but he had a stat. Right, at a very fantastic and fascinating stat that he'd spent 0 time on the bottom. 0 seconds. Meaning that's how they worded it. He'd never been there. He'd never been taken down. That's what it meant. They spent 0 time on the bottom. It was their way of telling you he's never been taken down. I'm the one that brought to you the audience that told you nobody has ever tried. I ran through the Rosen-Strux fight. I ran through the Junior Dos Santos fight. I ran through the big guy. I told you all about this and told you no one had ever tried. No one ever. The first time someone tried it, even Derek didn't try. The first person that tried succeeded, and that was Francis. Jon Jones didn't try. Regardless of what you remember, Jon did not try to take him down. That was on accident. Once they got there, Jon did try to keep him there, and that's where you start to see technique. That's where you see the guy crawling around. He just doesn't know what he's doing. So if you can't get him back to a title shot, if you got a young guy, you got a handsome guy, you got a likable guy, you got a main event on your hands. But now you're going to have to base everything on one of two things. Well, one of one. I mean, there's several ways that Jon will eliminate himself, right? Failed drug test and arrest or retire. There's several ways that he'll eliminate himself, but the way that you need him to do it is to retire or to get beat. So which one are you betting on? Are you going to ride him out? You know, I think he's a 42, 44, 45, 46. I really do. I really do. He's fighting for money. As long as they're paying him, he's going to fight. I believe that. So I think it's going to be real hard to run out that clock. Do you think he can get beat? If you can get Jon Jones beat, if you can get a belt on somebody else, you can bring Ciryl back. That's where that good-looking main eventer who Dana believes in, that's where that stuff can come in real handy. But that's what you're betting on. You're betting on the fact that Jon is no longer champion, or you're committing for the rest of your career to be a guy that fights but never fights for a championship. It's a hard spot. I told you this was a tough one. I didn't tell you this was easy. I told you this was tough. You had to give advice to a former champion, a multiple-time title challenger, a main eventer that Dana likes, who's good-looking, who's charismatic, and who's skilled, but you can't get him a main event title shot. What with him do you do?